Welcome, guys. My name is Helen Rincon. I'm part of the developer marketing team here at Atlassian, and I'm your host for today. Thank you for joining the Q4 installment of the Forge Roadmap webinar. We're really excited to have you with us today. The purpose of this webinar is to share what we have shipped over the last quarter and what we have coming up in the pipeline soon for Forge. So before we get started, I just want to run through how you can participate and catch up on anything that you might miss. The team is coming to you live today, and the presentation will be interactive. If you have a question at any point during the presentation, you can just drop it in the Q&A widget directly here in Zoom. We'll save all the questions until the end and get through as many as time will allow. There might be a case where questions require a little bit more research to properly answer. So if we aren't able to get to your question live, please post it in the developer community and we will address it afterwards. And lastly, today's webinar is being recorded. You'll receive the recording via email within about a week or so. Awesome. So for today's opening remarks, we're starting off with Celia, who leads up the Forge design team. The focus will be on the progress we've made this year with Forge and also the path ahead. After that, we'll go into roadmap updates and end things with the live Q&A. We have a wide range of updates to share today with you all. Those include the latest on the Connect to Forge migration path, Rovo AI Agents, Forge Remote, improvements to the Dev Console, UI kit, and a lot more. So we've got a packed agenda for you guys today. And of course, this is our required disclaimer. The timelines we share today reflect our current investments in Forge and are estimated to the best of our ability. Please note that these are forward-looking statements and features and timelines are subject to change. And with that, I'm pleased to introduce our first speaker. Celia, you're up.
Hi, everyone. My name's Celia Romanyuk, and I'm a Senior Design Manager overseeing Forge. Today, I'll be walking through the leadership perspective to give you insight into how we, so myself and my counterparts in product and engineering, are evolving the strategy and roadmap for Forge. So let's start with a recap of why we're here and how far we've come. In the early days of the Atlassian marketplace, most customers install plugins on-prem running alongside our server products. But with the rise of Atlassian Cloud, our customers and partners wanted to be able to extend cloud too. So in 2014, we released Connect. Connect enabled the first wave of cloud apps in the marketplace, but there was one thing it couldn't do. Connect apps have to be hosted by the partner or developer, which makes those apps complex to build securely and complex for customers to evaluate. So we recognized that we needed a way for Atlassian to host and run apps for our partners and customers, and that's why we began building Forge. So from the time we announced the Forge beta in 2019 to today, we've now got over 1,000 Forge apps commercially available in Marketplace, and Forge has gone from a basic functions as service to an enterprise-grade, powerful extensibility platform. In the past few years, Forge has progressed in leaps and bounds. There are too many launches for us to list here, but there are a few key improvements that I just wanted to highlight. Everything you see on this slide is in general availability and used by production apps today. Data residency is a table stakes feature for our customers operating in regions with strict data privacy regulations. Developers get data residency when they use Forge storage with zero additional work. If data is in Forge storage, it automatically mirrors data residency in the host product. The developer console is now a rich source of information to help developers monitor app health and troubleshoot errors. All of this instrumentation comes set up out of the box. And then for advanced partners, you can export metrics and logs to your favorite tools. Forge Remote gives developers powerful flexibility to integrate with complex backend services like an existing Connect app. And speaking of Connect apps, you no longer need to build from scratch to use Forge-only features. The migration path from Connect to Forge is now GA, so you can add new Forge capabilities right into your existing app. So the result of all that is that we're starting to see Forge pull ahead in the enterprise market. When we look at the install data from the previous calendar year, we see a remarkable trend. Forge installs are growing at a much faster rate amongst enterprise customers. This is the evidence that Forge is helping us and you solve our enterprise customers' complex demands. So just zooming out though, I want to talk about where we're going and what it all means. partners will start to see stronger and stronger signals to adopt Forge. Rovo AI Agents are only extensible via Forge. We recently announced changes to partner program tier requirements, which will include Forge revenue targets. We'll link to the partner portal announcement if you haven't seen that yet. And we're also exploring ways to help customers find Forge apps on the marketplace, particularly Forge apps that keep all data inside the platform. We're calling this program Runs on Atlassian, and you can expect to hear more about this soon. So we know, partners, we know you have your own roadmaps to plan. So we want to be clear about where we're going. And that's a world where Forge is our primary extensibility platform. Next, I want to talk a bit about the first steps that partners can take to keep pace with where the ecosystem is heading. So I know that many of you have already begun testing the migration path from Connect to Forge. If that's you, you're in a great spot. But if you haven't, we highly recommend getting familiar with the documentation and running a spike to try things out. Everything can be done locally or in your test environment, and it won't disrupt or affect your marketplace app. It's an incremental process, so you can try small changes at your own pace to ensure everything works as expected. Finally, staying up to date is incredibly important with the pace of new features coming to Forge. We've just released a new public roadmap, which you can find in the resources menu at the top of developer.atlassian.com. This new public roadmap uses Jira Product Discovery to make it easy to track the progress of new capabilities coming to Forge and see what's next. We're committed to giving partners more transparency into where we're going. Partners frequently bring up pricing when it comes to planning a future on Forge, and we expect to make an announcement on this topic, that is pricing, by the end of this calendar year. Before I hand over to the rest of the team to go over roadmap announcement, I want to share one last item. If you've been looking for a reason to do more with Forge, this might be it. Codegeist is back for another year, running through December 10. If you're new to the Atlassian ecosystem, Codegeist is our yearly hackathon. You can enter to win cash prizes by building Forge apps that help teams of all types work more productively together. We're running a special bonus category for Connect apps that have been converted to Forge to recognize partners that have gone the furthest with their migration or added new and innovative features Forge features to. So I want to wish everyone luck who's already entered, and you can go to codegeist.devpost.com to sign up. And with that, we're ready to dive into the Forge roadmap. I'll hand it over to Sean to kick us off.
Thank you for that, Celia. Hey everyone, my name is Sean, and I'm the product manager for Connect and adopting Forge from Connect. Today, I'll be talking about some of the progress we've made in supporting apps through this journey and also delivering new capabilities on Forge. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that adopting Forge from Connect is now generally available. We've seen a lot of apps, some with thousands of installations, making the move over the past year, and subsequently, we've built confidence and have promoted this capability to GA. We've also elevated our first migration service to general availability. Apps which were adopting Forge from Connect can now persist existing macro data when replacing a Connect module with a Forge macro module. We look forward to shipping additional module migration capabilities in the near future, with a view to dashboard items coming very soon. Finally, we've also added the ability for apps to persist their app accounts in circumstances where their customers have to modify app permissions. If you think you need this, there's details on how to request this available within our Forge from Connect documentation. We've also expanded our support for more apps adopting Forge. We support dynamic modules and dynamic webhooks in Connect, meaning that any Connect app utilizing these can come across and they'll work exactly like they did previously. Similarly, we've enabled access to DevOps modules and APIs, as well as internationalization for Connect modules on Forge. Every app that doesn't use data residency should now be able to start adopting Forge from Connect. And even those which use data residency can still test and trial using a single base URL to familiarize themselves with the process and explore the broader implications and changes that may have to happen to include Forge within their dev loop and operational processes. Finally, we've also recently released RFC 71 in the developer community forums. This explores how we can improve the update process when moving from Connect to Forge, And we look forward to your feedback, helping us in how we shape this approach and make sure we're enabling this for you. We understand that there are a lot of extension points and capabilities which have only existed on Connect up until now. We've also been hard at work bringing those into Forge so that you can build more use cases on that platform. We recently shipped the Access Email Address API for Forge, meaning that apps which want to access email addresses to deliver unique and distinct use cases can now achieve that and do so in Forge natively. We're also hard at work on delivering some of the most requested capabilities from the community. This includes things like bodied macros for Forge, the ability to define a custom macro editor, so being able to have that modal pop open and utilize UIKit or custom UI in there, custom UI support for inline macros, and finally, a collection of web item locations enabled as distinct and individual Forge modules with more content, more context. I'll now hand over to Daniel, who's going to walk us through Forge Remote.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniel, a product manager looking after Forge Remote. I have two updates for you today, a recent release, and I'll talk for a little bit about data residency on Forge Remote, specifically what you can expect and when you can expect it to be made available. First, a quick celebration. We have recently shipped the Access to APIs Anytime feature. Understanding that there are various use cases which require communication with Atlassian APIs without relying on user interaction or a product event, and combined with some community engagement, in this change we've increased the OAuth access token max TTL from 55 minutes to 4 hours. With this change, you're now able to configure an hourly schedule trigger to periodically deliver new access tokens. These tokens then can be cached for later use to authenticate requests with Atlassian APIs. We have updated the Connect frameworks, Spring Boot, and Express to support the functionality. So, coming up next in Forge Remote is data residency. As a lot of you know, data residency gives customers the ability to control where their data is stored. This can be for a number of reasons, from local privacy laws to an attempt to reduce latency. In this project, we'll be looking to enable both realm pinning and realm migrations in Forge Remote. Pinning being the ability for a customer to pin their app to the same region they have pinned their Atlassian products to, and migrations being the ability for a customer to migrate their app data from their current region to their newly pinned region. Our objective is to reduce the amount of friction in your transition from Connect over to Forge, and as such, most of the data residency solution will mimic the Connect implementation. You'll be providing region-based URLs, you'll be receiving and responding to the same migration hooks. There will be some minor changes required, such as using Forge invocation tokens for migrations. We're adding a migration ID to hooks in order to aid in incident management, but the work will be minimal. Detailed breakdown of how we plan to implement data residency can be found on the community forums in RFC 56. I'm sure we can provide a link in the chat. I recommend having a read if you're currently supporting data residency in Connect and are looking to make the move over to Forge. So, timeframes. We know a lot of partners see data residency as a blocker for publishing their new Forge apps. And as such, we want to get you unblocked as soon as possible and give you the opportunity to test your Forge integrations with data residency early in order to ensure you're ready to publish when able to. We will be going to EAP for realm pinning in December. In this EAP, we have two objectives. Apps can declare region-based URLs and can receive authenticated requests in the pinned region. And a Connect app that is migrating to Forge will still be pinned in the same region where it was previously pinned. This means that you'll be able to add region-based URLs to your remotes, deploy your app with the changes to your manifest, and test your implementation in a non-production environment. A quick note, the EAP will be for testing purposes only and will not be available for use in production with real customers until preview. But this will give you some time to continue to test your Forge integration with data residency before publishing when preview is made available. Speaking of which, round pinning preview is coming in February of next year. This release will allow you to preview round pinning with real customers in production, adding new functionality. The new customer app installations will be installed into the realm their products are pinned to. Customers can see the eligibility status of each of their apps that they have installed, and there will be some new options in the privacy and security tab to communicate with customers where data is being stored, if you plan on using a combination of remote storage and Forge hosted storage. Realm migrations is currently being scoped out, but will follow the same release pattern. An early EAP to implement and test migrations with test data. This will be available in late Q3, followed by a preview release where you'll be able to publish and use Realm migrations with real customers. For updates on Forge Remote Data Residency, please follow the ticket on our public roadmap and keep an eye out on the developer community forums for how to sign up to the pinning EAP in the next few weeks. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Recorded Dan. It is live Adam here coming in from New Zealand, and an update on all things Forge Compute. Firstly, I'll go into some improvements we've made in the node runtime. We now support node 20 in addition to node 18, which you can now configure in the manifest. Node 22 is also coming. We'll make that quickly available after AWS make it available for Lambda in November. Global fetch for node is now supported, which came out in node 18. I know there's a bunch of people having problems using SDKs and things that relied on it and sort of failed in strange ways. So really pleased to get that out. We've improved the local debugging and performance profiling that you can do now when you're using Forge Tunnel. And there's some good guides to follow on developer.atlassian.com. And finally, there was an issue where some of the product APIs that did sort of internal redirects to URLs like api.media.atlassian.com were being blocked as egress. That issue is now resolved as well. So if that was holding you back from moving over to the new runtime, now is a good time to take another look, because we have also announced the deprecation of the legacy runtime, which will be turned off on February 28 next year, which is 128 days from now. The good news is it's potentially a very small change in your manifest to upgrade to the new runtime, and it's faster and more fully featured. One thing to be careful of and aware of, though, is the change in sort of responsibilities around isolation. And there's a few things you'll need to pay close attention to, like making sure you're not persisting customer data in global state between invocations and things like that. But for all the details, you can check out the migration guide. So as well as that, we are working on sort of one of our most requested features, which is pushing out the timeouts on async functions to 15 minutes, which is the full time allowed by Lambda. And so hopefully that's going to make it a lot easier for processing larger jobs natively on Forge. EAP for that is coming early in November. So keep an eye out on the changelog when we're opening up that. And finally, the rumors are true. We are looking into a container service solution for Forge. I've spoken to a few of you on the call already, and some of you at team as well. And so really looking forward to getting into that. It is going to be a big project. I don't have any specific details or timelines to share at the moment, but we do have a survey that I'd love for you to fill out for us. It's very fast, should only be 5 minutes, just to sort of capture a few more requirements around containers. So the link for that goes in the chat. That would be good. And then, yeah, the usual RFCs and everything else will come. But just wanted to flag this early because I know it is a big enabler for not just coming to sort of the Forge manifest, but moving to native on Forge as well. So yeah, just wanted to flag that one for now. And from there, just a quick update on Rovo. Thanks to everyone who joined in on the Rovo EAP. It certainly was the busiest EAP I've ever run, and was a bit hectic, but also fun in trying to sort of get apps onto the marketplace in time for the GA launch. But the good news is we did it. Over 20 apps were ready in time for Team Barcelona and for GA. So that was really cool. We've got lots more planned for agents. Obviously, it's a huge bet for Atlassian with Rovo in general. And so, trying to get Forge agents access to more knowledge, trying to be able to sort of surface them more seamlessly in more places and things like that. Yeah, so we're really just getting started with what we can do with Rovo. And so, yeah, stay tuned for more. And for that, I'll hand over to Chandana.
Thank you, Adam. Hi, everyone. This is Chandana, and I'm currently working as a product manager in the Forge observability space. And today I'm excited to share a lot of releases that we have done on the console. Yeah. Firstly, I'm excited to share that the improved alert experience is now available to all the Forge apps. It is in GA right now. Using the new alert experience, admins can select the metric to create an alert. And the three metrics that are available are invocation success rate, invocation count, and invocation errors. Also, admins can choose to exclude certain versions, functions, sites, and error types into the consideration. This will help focus on what matters the most. You can also configure thresholds, severities, alert tolerance, and alert time period as well. Finally, you can also choose the responders for your alert rule. So overall, we have made this a very flexible mechanism for your alerts. Next slide. We have made a couple of improvements on the logs page as well. Earlier, you could view logs from 400 app installations at once. We have increased this to 3,500, and we aim to remove this limitation altogether in the future. We have introduced a major version filter as well. And along with the log messages, you can now search logs using invocation ID, module, and trace ID as well. Next slide. We have made a couple of improvements on the installation page as well. We added two new columns here. One is installed on date, which is representing the date at which the app was first installed on a particular site. And we have also added a link to the logs generated by the site as well. Next. Yeah. We have also introduced license testing for Forge apps, using which developers can install the apps in non-production environments and test how the specific license states would look for customers. You can test active, inactive, and trial states as well. Next slide. So this is something in progress, and we are planning to show the usage dashboard, using which developers will be able to monitor and optimize the utilization of Forge resources like compute and storage. More information will be coming soon. And yeah, timelines also will be shared when things are concrete, but just wanted to share this upfront. Next slide. Also, if anyone has any feedback with respect to observability or would like to participate in research, feel free to share your thoughts using the feedback collector available in the console, right next to the profile icon in the product. So yeah, that's it from my side. We'll hand it over to Jakub.
Hello, my name is Jakub, and I will share with you an update about extensibility. So we have just released UI modification support for the new transition view. 21, the most popular filters supported. So you can hide them, change the value and everything, which is usually supported for UI modifications. And now in GA, we support all three major views: global issue create, issue view, and the new transition view. We have also released support for multi-YM apps in the same context. Thanks to this, customers can run more than one app in the same context. Tabs are also supported right now in UI modifications, so you can hide the tab and things like this. And this is also supported for all major Jira views. And finally, we have released Forge custom fields support for inline edits. So now you can offer Jira-like user experience for your customers. It was a very popular request. We paused this project a few times, so I'm really happy that finally we have it. Yeah, and a few things are in progress. Those things are listed in the order of delivery. Forge custom fields are coming to the new transition view. They will work like in JSE, and we will support the string and object data type first. Type tracking is coming. It will be very similar to the Connect, so you will be able to hide native type tracking UI elements, and events and REST APIs will be supported as well. Forge is also coming to new issue navigator. Apps will be available in the dropdown on the a top right position, similar like in Connect, and it will be the first Forge extension point in new issue navigator. Command palette, this will be pretty amazing. You will be able to add a new item to the command palette, and the key shortcuts will be available as well. The command palette works across the whole Jira, which makes this module pretty powerful. If you want to learn more and join the discussion on the RFC 67. And we want to make your journey to the Forge as smooth as possible. So migration paths for Connect dashboard items and workflow modules are coming as well. And last but not least, display conditions, they will be as powerful as in Connect, but it will be a bit faster and more secure backend implementation. Work in progress, and that's it. Over to Grażyna.
Thank you, Jakub. My name is Grażyna, and I'm a product manager for Forge. And today I have a few announcements about Forge events for Jira and Confluence. In the last few months, we have been gradually improving the coverage of events for Jira. We have released events for project, issue, attachment, comment, work log. Also for Jira software, just last week, we shipped the sprint and board events, including, of course, the highly anticipated delete events for each entity. For Confluence, as you see right now, apps can subscribe to these events: whiteboard, database, smart link in the content tree, and folder events. In the next quarters, we plan to incrementally add more events. For Jira, we are currently working on version, users, filters, issue type, and component events. One mention here is the issue property set events. We are gathering feedback under the suggestions you see. If you have any use cases for us, please let us know, because we're actually debating whether we should ship it in the next few months. When it comes to Confluence, we are currently working on a release plan, prioritizing which events will be launched first. In the meantime, please anticipate updates from our teams through the changelog and Forge roadmap. Soon we'll have some announcements for you what's planned. Lastly, we want to improve the experience of filtering the events for Forge app developers. We are introducing event filtering, a functionality will give apps the ability to create criteria for what kind of events they should receive. For example, instead of listening to all issue updated events from the instance, you will be able to listen to events only from a specific projects. The solution we're planning to launch will be product agnostic. We divided projects into two phases: static and dynamic filtering. For more details, you can check the detailed solution we have proposed via RFC 30A on the 8th on the developers committee. And with that, thank you so much. Looking forward for feedback, and over to Gemma. Thank you.
Thanks, Grażyna. Hello, everyone. I'm Gemma. I'm another product manager on the Forge team focusing on UIKit. And today I'm giving some updates on 3 of our latest EAPs. So firstly, we have our Frame EAP. The Frame component allows you to load custom resources within UIKit, making it easy to import non-UIKit components in a UIKit module. We already have 36 participants, and I've been loving reading the use cases you all have had for Frame. Also, a quick shout out that we're currently recruiting those who have, or even if you haven't used Frame yet, to have a chat with us. And we'd love to hear any suggestions to improve the experience of building Forge apps using the frame component so that we can see how we can implement that into preview. To be able to access that, you'll need to have signed up to the Frame EAP and be a part of our private CDAC group where there'll be more information about that. Launched at a similar time, you can see here we have our UIKit data visualizations that have been requested by you all for a while, and I'm excited to announce we currently have the following charting components in EAP with more coming. We have bar chart, stack bar chart, horizontal bar chart, horizontal stack bar chart, line chart, pie chart, and single value. That's a bit of a mouthful, but you can see them there on the left, and we're excited to bring more in the new stages as we move to preview and GA. And I've been loving to see how you've all been able to start adding those to your apps. So excited to see even more uses of them. Next, we have internationalization. Another one of our early access programs is now available for Confluence and will be available for Jira next week. With internationalization, you can now add translation support to your app so that it can adapt based on a user's language and locale. For all of those EAPs I've been talking about, you can find out more information in our developer docs and the changelog, and I'll also send through the sign up links for them now. Thanks, everyone.
Cool, thanks, Gemma. Hey everyone, I'm Sushant. I'm also one of the product managers on the Forge team. So today I'm really excited to share that an early access program is now open for a new SQL-based hosted storage service that we're currently working on. So Forge SQL will enable developers and apps that require support for relational and other complex datasets to be hosted within Atlassian's infrastructure. And this has been a really high demand capability from our developers. So we're really happy to be able to get the ball rolling on this one. So now a little bit more information about the EAP service. So Forge SQL is based on TiDB, which is a MySQL compliant distributed database. We have configured the service to comply with standard ANSI compliant SQL. And for this EAP, developers are able to test an app's ability to query and update the SQL database that's provisioned on your developer site. You'll also have access to some of the performance metrics on the developer console, as well as error handling codes. So now, if you could just go back to the previous slide. Sorry, next slide, please. Yep. So the purpose of this EAP is obviously to gather initial feedback from our developers, which will really help shape the solution for production release in the future. But for now, the EAP service is relatively basic and has a few limitations that we will address as we gather more feedback and improve in future releases. So some of these limitations at the moment include that triggers will need to be defined to provision a database and run a schema migration. SQL operations right now cannot be directed to a local database when you're tunneling, and data residency is not yet supported. So for now, it means that all of the EAP databases are going to be provisioned in the US West region. Now, as we progress with the development, we will be addressing all of these limitations, including enabling auto-provisioning of the databases per installation. We'll also be providing more tools and observability to manage schema migrations, as well as slow queries and debugging, and providing Forge tunnel support for local environments, as well as enabling capabilities like data residency to meet your customers' needs. And upon the full release of the service in the future, Forge will take care of the security, the scalability, and the management of the underlying infrastructure, as we do for the current hosted storage, so developers can focus more on building those powerful and successful apps. So if you are interested in participating in the Forge SQL EAP, please check out the changelog announcement. I think the link will be provided in the chat. where you can sign up via the linked request form and as well as access the EAP documentation. On DAC, you'll also find a full tutorial to get you started with the testing of the EAP service. Once your your sign up request form has been accepted, we will enable your app ID and add you into a EAP CDAC space to get your feedback. So we already have 29 participants at this stage, but we would love to have more partners test this out and provide feedback so we can really build a solution that all developers will want to use. So really, really looking forward to seeing you all in the EAP. I think that's all from me today. Thank you. I will now hand it back to Helen.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sushant, and the whole team for sharing updates today. So we're now going to use the last few minutes to answer some questions. Thank you all for those who dropped the Q&A into the chat. So let me just pull up our question sheet and we'll go ahead and get started. So we actually had a few questions that came in through the community prior to the webinar. Thank you, Alexander, for submitting those, and Vladimir. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first one. These are regarding Rovo. So Adam, this one's going to be for you. What is the maximum context window size you support for the Rovo agents? And is it the same as OpenAI's 128K tokens?
Yeah, hi. The sort of short answer is yes. The long answer is it's a little sort of more complicated than that, because or I guess it's not always available to you. So there's a bunch of stuff that in the context of what eventually gets passed over to the LLM, including like the last 3 chats and responses that the user may have had, plus any Confluence pages or arrays of Jira issues and things that your actions have pulled into the context. So it's a little complicated, as I said, but what happens effectively is if you did manage to max out that massive context, basically it just sort of starts cutting off from older chats, so it'll sort of lose some of the relevance of the previous conversation, but it's not something that actually causes an error. So sorry, it's not a simple answer.
Got it. Awesome. Adam, don't go too far because I have another question for you regarding Rovo agents. This one is also coming from Vladimir. What's the suggested way to implement Rovo agents? One agent supporting many actions or multiple agents with fewer actions each?
Yeah, I think in most cases it makes sense to have one agent with a lot of actions. I think it depends sort of what your agents are doing though, and sort of who they're aimed at. So like one example is you might have maybe separate agents if you have one that's aimed more at admins and one that's aimed more at regular users and the sort of tasks they're trying to do. So yeah, I think rule of thumb is probably one agent with lots of actions, but there might be valid reasons why you have multiple agents as well.
Awesome. Thanks for that guidance. And then one last question for Rovo. Is it possible to upload files as part of the user prompt passed to the Rovo agent?
The answer is no, and yeah, just in general, Rovo agents don't support sort of files and sort of anything more multimodal at the moment. Like it can sort of display image previews if you give it a link to an image, but you can't actually pass an image in. It is something that we're sort of looking at the future for Rovo, but obviously there's a lot of responsible AI and trust and things like that goes into that thinking as well as sort of getting the tech right. So stay tuned. I'm sure it will come in the future. I'm just not sure exactly when.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. We're now going to take it to our next question. Greshna, this one's for you. This is coming also from CDAC. It says, are you planning to extend entity, issue, comment, project, etc., events payload? If yes, when will it be implemented? For example, I have a trigger for the delete issue event and would be great to have the full list of issue fields.
Thank you for the question. We do have plans to extend payload for events as we go. We'll be looking for the feedback coming from the Forge project and probably conversations that we plan to launch with you after we ship the next batch. That said, one lesson we have learned from Connect webhooks is the size of the payload. That sometimes can be really significant. So we need to make sure the right amount of data comes through the events. In case of delete events, this becomes more complex as the delete entity is already gone. So I'll definitely bring this feedback back to the team, and we're gonna get back to you on this one. I already see the suggestion in the Forged project, so I'll be updating them as we discuss it and let you know when it possibly can come. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Greshna. This next question is going to be for Gemma. The question is, currently the modal Forge bridge component doesn't fit in the entire browser screen with the max width. It leaves some margin around the modal. Do we have plans to improve this in the future and allow users to display modal in full screen?
Yeah, so for macros at the moment, we're just going to support the existing macro sizes starting from day one while we're bringing it to Forge. But I would definitely be keen to learn more about the circumstances for not having page padding. So please leave a message somewhere in CDAC or message me. I'd love to learn more about that and see how we can make that a possibility.
Awesome. Thank you. Adam, I'm going to bring you back for a few more questions. This question is coming from Tobias. Says, we have some customers on an old app major version who are as usual very slow with upgrading. I think that the old major version is using the old runtime. What will happen to these customers? Will the app keep working, stop working? Any guidance?
Yeah, good question. And yeah, one thing we didn't mention that shipped recently was the ability to push updates to previous major versions. And so I'll drop that link in the chat now. And so that is one option, is you could actually upgrade the old major versions of your app. As well as that, we're sort of looking at how we can reach out to admins as well, to let them know that they're on an old version that's going to stop working, and encourage them to update. And so yeah, there's a few tactical things we can do to try and nudge people along. We did something similar for data residency for Forge earlier in the year. And so yeah, we'll probably do an exercise like that again, sort of closer to the deprecation time.
Awesome. And one more question for you, Adam. This one's coming from Georgi. Question is, will there be a plan for Forge not just running on AWS Lambda, but also on Cloudflare workers?
Not necessarily Cloudflare workers. We don't have any sort of plans to support that at the moment. It is, yeah, I guess our focus is still just, yeah, it'd be the Forge functions, which is on Lambda, and then the containers as well will be the sort of two areas of focus for compute.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. This next question is for Shandana, and it's coming from Summit. Question is, we have development / staging / production environment in Forge, but is there any way to release and tag Forge app as a beta program for customers? Any recommendations regarding this?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Sumit, for the question. So currently for beta testing for customers, there is an option to distribute your apps. So before publishing an app to Marketplace, you have that option. Once an app is on Marketplace, yeah, we do realize that there are some limitations with distribution as a whole, and we plan to revamp it next year. It's a good suggestion, like how can customers realize that it's a beta version and you are testing it for customer feedback. We'll evaluate the solutions on should we give a lozenge, etc. is something we'll discuss internally, Sumit. But yeah, happy to chat further on this. Hope you got some context on the beta release for customers.
Thanks, Shandana. Okay, switching gears, Jakob, this question is for you. Are there any plans to extend support of custom field types, like having string type with wiki style render? and in general, provide a mechanism to plug custom types to any app. It seems right now, if we create our custom field type with type string, it won't be supported in automation or other apps.
So we are going to add Forge custom field support to more views, JSM and News Navigator and boards. This is something which we plan to do in longer future. When it comes to displaying Forge custom field from another app in the second app, I think this is for this we are still gathering requirements and interest. So please let me know about the use case. I will be really happy to learn more how you will use it and what are use cases there.
Awesome. Thank you, Jakob. Cool. Next question is for Sean. In the Connect.js library, we use methods like save macro and get macro data to manage that macro data. We couldn't find an equivalent API in Forge. Do we have plans to introduce similar support in Forge APIs, especially related to Confluence?
Cool, thanks for the question. So as I noted, we are working towards a custom editor within Forge. So being able to have a more enriched custom editor experience for Forge macros. This will have similar approaches to get macro data through injection into the context. So you'll always have the context of the macro when that's loaded and when that's available. And it will have similar methods to save macros. So you'll be able to save that macro content when you need to or when you want to throughout that editing experience as well. So very similar experience, slightly different because it's in Forge, but very, very similar.
Awesome. Cool. Next question is for Sushant. Is there any update on the progress of Forge object storage? This would be like the Forge storage equivalent to Amazon S3. Is there a plan to GA this?
Cool. Thanks, Sumit, for the question. So we are exploring object store integration into Forge at this stage. It is very early on in this exploration and still under consideration, but the team are looking more into what this can look like and what are the requirements. So I think what the next steps here is what you can expect is I think the team will reach out to developers via different formats to gather more requirements around this service, as particularly around the load that you can expect. So I think maybe take a look out for that. Unfortunately, because it's so early in this exploration, I don't have any timelines to provide at this stage, but as soon as we know more, we'll definitely provide an update here. Thanks.
Thank you, Sushant. Cool. I have a couple questions for you, Celia. Start off with the first one who's coming from Summit. Summit is asking, do we plan to add a cost dashboard in our Atlassian developer console for Forge apps to get overall cost insights and predictions? This would be helpful in optimizing our app accordingly in terms of cost if needed.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, we're exploring this at the moment. We're preparing designs and solutions to figure out which is the best way. But yes, this is in our plans.
Awesome. And one more question for you, Celia. This one also came through the community from Alexander. The question is, theoretically, would Atlassian Connect be deprecated, and what would be the timeline for that?
Yeah, so we recently announced that all new extensibility and capabilities will be delivered exclusively on the Forge platform. So Connect apps which are wanting to deliver new capabilities should really start exploring adopting Forge from Connect now, and it's in GA, so that they can make sure that they're set up for the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Cecilia. It looks like we do have a few more questions that we can get through. A few questions for you, Adam. The first one's coming from Byron. Byron's asking, can Rovo be used in place of calls to an external modal?
External model, I think is maybe
Yes.
the question.
Sorry.
The answer is no, you can't. There's no ability to change the model from sort of a customer or developer perspective. At the moment, we do use a mixture of different models for different Rovo and Atlassian Intelligence features. But yeah, it's not something that's configurable. Obviously, yeah, if you build a Forge app and you sort of make external calls, you can integrate whatever LLMs you like, but it's not part of Rovo.
Got it. And one more question about Rovo. Are Rovo agents part of the FedRAMP initiative that Atlassian is doing?
Yeah, good question. Not currently, and there are still a few of the certifications being worked through for Rovo now post GA as well. So yeah, there's still a few things we need to do to sort of make Rovo suitable for large enterprise customers. I'm not sure off the top of my head whether FedRAMP is in scope to be sort of eventually part of Rovo, but yeah, I can follow up on that one.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. And we're going to go with our last question for today. This one is for you, Sean. This question is coming from Shabira. They're asking, is there a way to test app installation requests when porting a Connect app to Forge to ensure lifecycle events are handled seamlessly? For more context, any install-specific process app vendors link to installations or uninstallations are handled, like deleting customer app data.
Yeah, definitely. So the experience today, if you have that Connect app installed and then install the Forge app via the CLI, replicates the same behavior that occurs when a customer updates. So rather than sending an update event in that circumstance, it sends an installed event from Forge. So as long as you're handling the Forge installed event, you can test that by having your Connect app installed and then installing the Forge app on top of that, either through direct distribution or the CLI. It'll replicate the same behavior. So easiest way to test it is to just install a Connect app, then install Forge over the top.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. All right, so that is all the time we have for today. If we didn't get to your question, no worries. You can still post it in the developer community and the team will address it afterwards. Thank you all for tuning in today. We enjoyed having you for this installment of the Quarterly Forge Roadmap webinar, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time.